My name is Tai Hao Lu, and I'm originally here from Salt Lake City, Utah. But my father's from Taiwan, and he came here from in the mid-'70s in Taiwan. And in Taiwan, he was martial arts champion in full contact fighting. So we practiced the northern style of Shaolin Kung Fu.
Very cool.
And so he came here in the mid-'70s, and at that time, acupuncture and Chinese medicine was illegal here in Utah. And so him and his teacher were invited to come to the U.S., and then they originally were going to plan on making a movie. They invited my father to make a movie, a martial arts movie, but then it fell through, and so they opened up martial arts schools and started teaching, and then in 1983 started to the law for acupuncture passed, and so then they opened up the acupuncture clinic and the Chinese medicine clinic. And so my father started all of our things with Master Lu's Health Center, and then personally I went and got a master's degree in Chinese medicine, and then been practicing here in Salt Lake for the past 16 years.
That's amazing. I'm excited to dive into that story.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
Great. And then what was your name?
I'm Andy, full name Andy Alzamora. So I'm from New York, born in New York, raised in New Jersey, Jersey City. Been here in Salt Lake for almost 3 years, I would say, so far. Salt Lake has been treating me kind so far. I have no, I actually like it here.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I went to the Eastern School of Acupuncture and Traditional Chinese Medicine in Bloomfield, New Jersey. That's where I got my master's degree in acupuncture. Since I started acupuncture, it's been definitely a rewarding journey. Yeah, so there.
Awesome. Thank you. Nice to meet both of you. And then,
my name's Kevin Weisenberger. I'm the office manager at Master Lu's Health Center, and also I'm one of the Tai Chi instructors. I've been working at Master Lu's for about 10 years, and I had actually started studying Chinese medicine as far as the herbs are concerned before I started working at Master Lu's, and then when I started there, seeing how complicated everything was and feeling like a little overwhelmed at it all, and watching Thai, I realized that it's not the field for me, but I have fun. I enjoy sitting at the front desk interacting with people, so that's what I love doing now.
so you're still in the environment, but you're not.
Yeah, and I'm still constantly learning new things from Ty and Andy both about Chinese medicine, so I'm still in the field.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm sure that it's a whole system in and of itself to learn from. I'm sure it's a never-ending process, right? But so this is Master Lu's Health Center right here. Then you three.
Us three. We also, my mother is that works with us as well, and so it's been a family business. Just growing up. Growing up, it was just my father and my mother. My mother's a physical therapist, and so then they decided to work all together. And so when I was growing up, that's how it was and stuff.
That's awesome.
And then we also teach all the Chinese martial arts, and so I personally practice Chinese martial arts since I was 2 years old. So over 40 plus years. And I teach, and we teach the northern style Shaolin Kung Fu, as well as the old yang style Tai Chi, and then other Chinese internal martial art forms. We say Ba Gua and Xing Yi, and so that's what we do as well. So we have classes and Tai Chi classes, Kung Fu classes. And then we'll have our Chinese medicine clinic during the daytime and stuff too.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to maybe
we'll
break down some of those topics as well. But before we do that, I think it'd be interesting. You said a lot of fascinating things about your story at the beginning when you introduced yourself, and I thought that would be cool to maybe start there, if that's cool.
Yeah.
We could kind of go down your story with. You mentioned your father came here in the 70s.
Yeah.
And so that's where it all started.
That's where it all started. he's originally from Taiwan, and he started practicing martial arts when he was 13 years old. And so what's interesting about that is, so in Taiwan, his family was poor, and he only went up to 6th grade in education, because after that they didn't have enough money to pay for education. He actually started working in factories when he was like 5 years old and stuff, like candy factories and stuff. And so then when he was 13, he started learning Chinese martial arts. And his master was, his name is Yin Qianhe, which is, we say Grandmaster Yin. And so he was originally from Shandong, China, and he was a general, one of the Nationalist Party general in China. And so in 1949, when the Communist Party took over mainland China, there was a bunch of people that moved and immigrated over to Taiwan, and that was the Nationalist Party. And so he was a general in China as well as a martial arts instructor, and then he moved in 1949 to Taiwan. And so after that, when he was in Taiwan, he opened up martial arts schools. And when my father was 13, that's when he met him. And at that time, my father also had a restaurant, so he owned his own restaurant when he was 13 years old. And
He was 13?
yeah, 13.
Wow.
So he worked really hard.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And so, but at 13 years old, he started to train in the Chinese martial arts and in Kung Fu, and he got really good, went to tournaments. That time tournaments were a lot different than what we see now. And so there were people that they would die and stuff in tournament. People get really hurt quite badly and stuff. But my father, he trained about 8 to 12 hours every day. And in the full-time training, he went to tournament, and he became a Grand National Champion. There's no pads, and usually the fighting there at that time in the mid '60s and the late '60s, it was more like you block, hit, one hit, the person either die, broken bone, And so he told me a lot of different stories. Like he used to practice, get 4x4s, and they would dig in the dirt. And he would kick these 4x4s. His teacher made him kick the 4x4s, and he'd make it so he'd break them. And so then in tournament, they sit there, and one guy would hit, he'd block, kick the knee, and break the knees. Right then. So each fight was really fast and stuff.
Wow. And
so, but at that time, here in Taiwan, you also have to, it's mandatory to be part of the army for 2 years. And so he was on a special squad when he was 19 years old. And it was like a martial arts type, like a fighting squad. And they would actually, it was interesting. He was on a special squad that would go over on a boat. They go to mainland China. And at that time, China was in the middle of the Cultural Revolution. So Mao Zedong in China was trying to always take control over Taiwan. Just like now, they're always trying to take control of Taiwan. Mm-hmm. But this squad would go up and they would fight some of the communist soldiers and cut their ears off and take them back and report and stuff. Things like that. So it's kind of intense. But after in Taiwan, he would attend the tournaments, and there were people there, like foreigners, and they saw him perform martial arts and stuff, and out of like thousands of martial artists there, they saw him and they chose him, and they wanted to invite him to come to the U.S., make a movie, teach martial arts and stuff.
Did he? So he ended up making the movie?
The movie, it fell through. He came to Utah, and then like it didn't work out. So I'm not exactly sure all the details
That's
what
cool,
happened
though.
there, but
Yeah.
you know, with a teacher and a master and a disciple in Chinese martial arts, it's almost like a father-son relationship.
Okay.
And so at that time, he also said, hey, to his teacher, you got to come with me and stuff. Because anything his teacher did in Taiwan, like go teach at a different venue or school or whatever, he always asked my father to go with him, you know. And so there, it was like always like a father-son relationship type thing. And so him and his teacher, Grandmaster Yin, came to the U.S., came to Utah. They started to teach martial arts at that time, and they didn't know any English. They somehow got a sponsor here. And
This is in the 70s.
yeah, this is so.
Okay.
They came over in 1974,
Wow.
and so and then my father, through teaching, they made enough money. He sent his teacher back to Taiwan, able to get a plane ticket, and they went back to Taiwan, or he went back to Taiwan, sold his property, and then came back and stuff, and because he liked it. And so then he came back, and they continued teaching classes. And at that time, the acupuncture and Chinese medicine was illegal. And so they weren't able to practice any acupuncture or anything like that. My father's teacher also learned the Chinese medicine and stuff when he was in China, early 1900s. And so when my father was old enough, his teacher said, you need to learn how to heal people now. And so that's where he learned from him in Taiwan, to learn the acupuncture and Chinese medicine. And so after teaching, they built up school. There was, they had students and stuff. And then in 1983, the acupuncture legislation, the law passed here in Utah. My parents were kind of part of that, in the forefront of all that. And so they, after that passed, my father became one of the first licensed acupuncturists here in Utah, and then opened up a clinic. And at that time, we had the clinic and the studio separate, and just at different parts, different areas and stuff. And then about 29 years ago, 1995, we opened up one central location that included our clinic and our studio. And then we first called it the health center, and then we later on we renamed it to Master Lu's Health Center. And our martial arts side is called Zhongxin Kung Fu Institute. And then
And that's at the health center.
yeah, and so, and that's part of that's the martial arts side. And then the Master Lu's Health Center would include everything, but also the acupuncture, the Chinese herbs, and everything that entails Chinese medicine.
Wow.
And so we've been there since 1995, and then my father, he passed away a couple years ago, but we keep on trying to live, pass on the legacy of what he taught and all the different aspects with the martial arts and the Chinese, the acupuncture and stuff.
Yeah, that's such an amazing story, a history behind that.
Yeah.
It's cool
So
to
there's
see.
a lot, and
It's cool to see you carry that on and kind of
try to carry it
keep
on
that alive.
and keeping the Chinese culture,
Mhm.
I guess, especially here in Utah, where for years and years there wasn't that many Chinese people here. Or there's more and more now, and and especially people that are from mainland China coming over here. There's more and more, but it's good to have the culture. Even now, we'll have Chinese immersion students. I speak Chinese, and so we'll have Chinese immersion students from different high schools. They'll bring their high school classes over and do field trips to learn more about the Chinese culture, especially with the Chinese martial arts and the Chinese medicine. So as they're learning language, they also learn part of the what's entailed with culture and stuff.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, with community cures, we're trying to have these types of conversations where we can really talk about alternative medicine or things or Chinese medicine or new aspects of, not even new, like just traditional things that aren't as traditional today.
Yeah.
And really amplify that, because we want to be part of the conversation to really understand everyone's voice and everything. It's cool that you have so many aspects to what you have going on at your health center.
Yeah.
And it's not just one thing, it's a lot. And I would love for you do acupuncture.
Yes, I'm also
I would love
an
to
acupuncturist.
break down some of that, even, and then maybe touch on the martial arts side of things as well, because it's so multidimensional what you guys have going on.
But that's the whole scope of traditional Chinese medicine. It doesn't it's not just acupuncture, it's herbs included, nutrition is a big part of it, and physical exercise, right? So that's what Master Lu has inside of the center. Tai Chi with physical exercise, herbs as well in the front. We give lots of education when it comes to nutrition, and of course acupuncture is provided by me and Master Tai Hao.
That's beautiful. So what is acupuncture for those that have never had it, or for those that are interested? I've never been able to do that, but I have been interested and I've seen it happen before. Could you explain to us a little bit about that whole process?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
So how do I break it down? What is acupuncture? If you look at the character, and I could be wrong, one of my students, fellow peers, when I was in acupuncture school, she told me that the way they spell acupuncture in China is needle and herb. So is that correct?
Zhengzhou, so it's needle and moxa.
Needle and moxa, right. So that's the way they spell it in China. So when you just say acupuncture, it's kind of different. So acupuncture, what we use the thin needles, right, to stimulate certain channels in the body.
Are these like meridians?
See, I think that's the common misconception. When it was translated, from my understanding, it was a gentleman from France who translated it. And he translated it as meridians, but I think channels is the more correct way, the more correct word for it. And you can think of it as also like it follows the lines of certain nerves and fascia as well. It's not really encompassed with that, but the channels do follow a certain pattern that's found in the body. So when we stimulate these certain channels, certain points, what we usually find is that it can reduce pain in different areas of the bodies. Sometimes there's key points that if you notice that, hey, this guy has a pain in this area here, if you treat that area, it'll also subsequently affect other areas of the body. So acupuncture, the way that it works, I found that it works in different ways. One way is we can stimulate the channels, right? Another way, we can also create a certain like biological effect on the body. Like let's say if someone has a knot or what we call like a nodule or a pressure point, right? By just releasing that area, you can get some effect too. What I find that the most where all the education comes in, and I think the most experience is that you can affect a certain area of the body by not even using any points around that area, but finding different points related to it and having a profound effect on somebody's pain and somebody's ability or somebody's anxiety, or someone who hasn't had, I don't know why, but if they can't heal from a certain injury, all of a sudden that area will start to be relieved, or they'll get some relief from it, or the pain will go away, or they'll start healing. And I found like that's the that's the most skilled way of treating, as opposed to if someone has pain on the forearm, just sticking it there. Now there are benefits from that. There are. I just found that the skill of it comes when you're able to treat a certain area without even sticking a needle there.
Interesting. Well, I feel like this is a perfect example of whole body healing and the whole holistic, right, approach to it. Which I feel like, I mean, you were saying it was even illegal when your father came here. And so it's like we weren't even open to realizing that healing encompasses the wholeness of who we are. That it's not just
the whole body.
And this is acupuncture seems to be a great way to see that in action, right?
And that's as Chinese medicine practitioners, that's what we see is the whole body. We look at the body as a whole. We look at balance, see what is out of balance in your body, and then we help balance that, you know. And the acupuncture itself will improve that blood flow, that blood circulation, and that's what, like Andy was talking about. You know, you can use a needle on this channel here, like we call on the large intestine channel, or like on herbal, which is on the large intestine channel, and this channel comes all the way up through the face, and you can use this to help with like tooth problems or like migraine headache, because the channel affects here. So it improves the blood flow. It causes the blood to come through and to allow your body to self-heal.
For migraines, someone did tell me this point one time. And
that's why that helps, because of that. And the channels, you know, a lot of people, they'll think, oh, the channels are kind of, or like they would call them meridians or whatever, and they're like.
Is that in a different? Is that just a different way to? Does that come from a different practice? That word, because that's just what I've heard.
It's the same. It's the same thing, just different words. Like what Andy was saying.
Translation.
Like translation. Years and years ago, there was that French guy. He went to China. He learned Chinese medicine. Wrote a book, and that's how he translated it. It was meridian.
Yeah, that's what I've read before. So.
And so, but the channels itself, they're like vessels. So if we say in Chinese, 经脉 is or 经络are the channels in Chinese. 脉 is like the vessel. And so that's why we would say channel. And when we say like a vessel, what the channels do is they transport essential substances to your organs, to your sinews, to your joints and stuff. Essential substances meaning like blood, different fluids. We also say qi. Qi is like is a special thing in Chinese medicine that is also an essential substance. But the channels, a lot of people, you know, they think, oh, you know, they're like imaginary, they're not really there. But they are there in the sense of they are like spaces in between. So you can palpate the channel and then even use palpation as diagnosis. You can feel different things along the channel to say, oh, you know, you have a problem here and there. Even when you're palpating, you can palpate different areas of your body to understand what's going on as well.
So with that, is the part of the healing practice, is that clearing, I guess what I'm hearing is that kind of clearing stagnant, something that's stagnant, that kind of is opening something up that is, you're mentioning, causing pain here, or are you opening the channel or clearing it?
Yeah, you're opening the channels using the acupuncture. You know, in diagnosing, you can also palpate the channels and you can feel the space. You can actually feel the channels. So there will be spaces in between, like connective tissues, the nerves, but they're wrapped around it. And so the channels are actual physical structures within the body. And there's actually been some studies, not very many, that have tried to look at that. And so there's been some that I've actually read, you know, that they found spaces and stuff, but when they're doing like different imaging and things like that. But the channels are corresponded to your different organ systems. So like you have a heart channel, a spleen channel, a lung channel like that, and they have different functions of the channel. Some functions are the same as like Western medicine, but then also completely different with Western medicine. So like the heart channel, in Chinese we say the heart will house the mind. And so the heart channel not only, help with the heart itself, but things like with the mind. So if you have forgetfulness, anxiety, insomnia, things like that, that could be a heart channel involvement. Of course, we ask different questions. We'll palpate pulses, which is a whole other thing in Chinese medicine. Look at the tongue. Andy practices like a Japanese style acupuncture where they will palpate the abdomen, and that's a whole other diagnostic thing, using the channels and stuff too.
Oh, very cool.
And so there's a lot of different ways to look at the whole body, and we ask different questions. How's your bowel movement? How's your sleep? Your energy level? And we form patterns of disharmony, and then that's where we can focus on what is out of balance, and then we focus and we treat those channels that are out of balance to help heal your body. In terms of pain, you were talking about stagnation, and that's what it is. So like whenever there's no free flow, that's when there could be pain. And so the acupuncture, the Chinese herbs will help move that, will help open up to allow your body to heal.
Because there's a blockage somewhere there.
Blockage.
Do you feel like, so in today's world, I feel like there are a lot of people that are seeking different healing modalities and different approaches because they are sick and there are blockages, or they are struggling in society or in this life, and they're trying to find the right method for them. Do you feel like you're attracting more people looking at these modalities in your guys' business and your
all the time,
what you're healing and what you're doing?
All the time.
Yeah.
There's always a time and a place for every type of medicine and stuff, but we get a lot of people that are saying they'll come to us and be like, I don't want to, I don't want to be on these medications. These medications are causing me to be sick and having these side effects and stuff. And so that's where they want to look at complementary and alternative medicines to help, like Chinese medicine, to help their body heal more naturally.
And that brings us right into the food as medicine, the Chinese herbs, and kind of what you alluded to at the beginning too with your study into that, right? Because nutrition, a lot of people lack. I mean, that's where a lot of sicknesses start, is the lack of good nutritional balance, right?
Nutrition is very important. Eating a lot of different colors of vegetables, more vegetables, but keeping it balanced is very important, all of that.
And a lot of our patients will tell them, to eat more vegetables, but don't eat them raw. Master Tai alludes to this many times, that sometimes when someone is healing, eating raw vegetables can actually not be beneficial. To steam them is the best way because it keeps the nutrients alive still in them, where boiling or frying you can see the oxidation in the food start to kill it. Steaming it is actually the best way to do it because you keep the nutrients still alive, and you see that in the color.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
And not saying eating raw is bad, but doing it too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so
to get the maximum benefit of
because
the substances.
Yeah, because in Chinese medicine, we look at balance. Everything's balanced. You live in the old Chinese medical classics, the Huangdi Neijing, which is the Yellow's Emperor's internal medicine canon. It talks about living in a balanced way. And so one of my professors, he said, you have to live the yin and yang. And so if you're doing things too much, even if it's good, like eating raw vegetables all the time, then over time your digestion will get
Out of balance.
Out of balance. You'll start to get tired, and that affects, in Chinese we'd say affects the spleen channel, and so you'll get tired. Your digestion can get out of balance. Your bowel movements can get more loose like that, and you'll just not feel as 100%.
Right.
But then if you balance it with some more warming things, then you'll be okay.
Is this
And
similar
so-
to like an Ayurvedic practice almost? Is that kind of similar?
It's kind of similar.
Or is it totally different?
There are principles that are similar with
Okay.
Ayurveda.
Because I've heard like it's like the warm introducing what you're talking about with like to balance it.
Yeah,
the
to
cooling and
balance
the
it out.
warming.
Yeah, so you have to balance and stuff.
There's a lot of so many
so-
different modalities that you can take little snippets from and really learn from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what's really neat with like acupuncture itself is now there's even more and more just Western studies. There's a lot of research
Behind it.
behind it here in the U.S. And they found biomedically, it gets pretty complicated, but biomedically that it will affect the brain. It acts on the central nervous system,
Okay.
and that it'll release different chemicals, neurotransmitters, different hormones like endorphins, serotonin, melatonin, things like that will allow your body to self-heal.
Wow.
So-
that's beautiful. Also, besides carrying on like the inspiring story of your family and what you guys have built here at your guys' health center, what do you each like? What keeps you going in the healing arts? Like what's like something as far as like, I mean, I'm sure it's super beneficial to see the progress of people and watch people heal and work on themselves and get better and introduce these things into their lives. But what's inspiring for you and what keeps you going in this art?
Andy,
Of course, yeah. Well, I know it works.
Mhm.
That's one of the things. And when I encounter patients who have tried almost everything that they can think of, with the exception of acupuncture, sometimes it's almost as if acupuncture is like their last choice.
It's their last resort.
And then just in a few treatments, they're thanking you for like relieving them of the pain. So that's one of the reasons why I keep doing it, because I know it works, and it's the body healing itself. I just have the skill and the education to know where to put the needles in order to help this patient. But now I can't say for certain that I've treated everyone with 100% efficiency, that I cured everything, but a great deal of pain that people have come to see me, and a great amount of people have tried a different amount of approaches, different modalities, and it wasn't until they tried acupuncture until they found the relief. Why I like it so much is that it doesn't introduce a chemical substance into the body where they feel drowsy and they can't perform as well. It's just the body healing itself. And I love the concept of, well, they discovered it in different ways. They used to use big needles, stone needles back in the day, and they refined it, of course, to now we have very, very thin needles where they fit inside of those syringes that you see in the hospitals. It's amazing to me how using that needle in a certain area will help someone heal from a long-term pain. And that's what keeps me going, is because at the end of the day, they go home and they're not drowsy from taking it was 10 or 14 different medications. And just to be clear, I'm okay with medicine. I'm okay with taking a medication for blood pressure. I think that's important.
Like you said, there's a time and a place
Right.
for it all.
It's all about balance. Correct. Right. The only thing is when I encounter patients who said, "Oh, I'm on this medication, and by the time you know it, we're up to the number 12 or 14, and I'm like, I'm dumbfounded. Is there no one speaking to each other in terms of Western medicine? Like, does your doctor know? Are they aware you're taking all these conflicting medications? And then here I come, and I hope for the best, and I'm using different approaches to figure out what channel or what approach will work for this patient using acupuncture. And what keeps me going is that after maybe about 5 sessions, 3 sessions, I think if you're really skilled, you can get the results you want in just a few sessions. But if not, usually around 5, 10 sessions, people, they're going to come back. They're going to say, I feel way better. Compared to that first day that I was here, I feel way better. So it makes me keep going. Like, okay, this is important. What we need is more people to have more of awareness of it. Because it's fairly new. We've only been here in the States. I think it came out in the 70s, right? Or late 60s. So I still encounter patients, like, weekly.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, balance, right?
Yeah.
And we have been absolutely out of balance with our health and our wellness.
Yeah.
And so,
absolutely.
of course, people
Very
are starting
cool,
to, I mean, at some point there's a breaking point, and there's a need for these things, and there's a need to and I love what you said, letting the body heal itself. Right. It's like we almost forgot that our bodies can heal.
They can.
And it's like you're kind of pointing it in the right direction. Instead of relying so much on something externally, you can kind of like guide. It's a practice of working with the body and letting the body do its thing, what it's supposed to be doing. And that's beautiful. I love that.
I think you told me one time of your first experience with with acupuncture.
Right.
I think that would be something that would be great to point out.
Right. So, all right. So years ago, I also practiced physical therapy as a physical therapist assistant. I still do it to this day, 12 years, because physical movement is important. Physical exercise is important. That you can also stimulate the channels, right, by just stretching and by physically moving. So it's very much important. The way I see it, if your body's not moving your joints in a certain way or a certain range of motion, your body, being the intelligent being that it is going to say, hey, we don't need blood circulation to this area because we're not moving it, but we need it at a different area. So can we stop sending blood to this area and circulation? But when that happens, you're not getting the oxygen, the nutrients, and the blood's supposed to pick up waste. When that doesn't happen, that's when more diseases starts to occur. So physical movement is important. It's one of the reasons why I got into it at a very young age. It was just that after an injury, I was in a snowboarding injury, and there was a lot of other complications happening in my life at the same time. I was able to rehabilitate myself. I hurt my shoulder pretty bad, where I required surgery. And I was able to rehabilitate myself with the knowledge I had from physical exercise, from physical therapy. But the pain was still excruciating, and I would have like just the nagging pain on my scar, on my left shoulder where I had the injury. And because of the other factors happening into my life, I went out looking for help. I'm very much of a guy that if I'm like backed up into the corner, I'm gonna like figure things out to get out of the corner, So I went out looking for help. I started reading books on meditation, and that really helped calm the anxiety that I was experiencing for the first time in my life. I think I was in my late 20s. And why that's relevant is because I was in the military as a young man, and I had this strong mental attitude that if I'm like, if there's an obstacle in front of me, I'm gonna run it over like a tank. But at this point in my life, the obstacles in front of me were more of a thinking man's game, and that just wasn't my approach to life. I was more physical. That's why I went to physical therapy. So fast forward, I went out looking for help. I started reading books. Thank God I was always into reading, and so I got into meditation pretty heavy. And I remember reading a passage in the book saying that there's a lot of power in group meditation. So I went looking for a group to meditate with, and you got to take caution with that because one place that I went to, they offered me the secret to happiness in life for the low price of $650. There was a picture of some guy on the wall. Like everybody around me, they looked legitimately happy, and they were like hitting some drums. It just wasn't for me, So I went back and went online looking for a place to do group meditation with, and I found a place called the Blue Dragon School of Martial Arts, where they had free meditation classes every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. It was an hour drive from where I lived at. So I hesitated for a bit, but decided to do it eventually. And when I went to that class, a lot of what the owner would say, the martial artist that was there that's providing it, shout out to Shifu Raymond Alice. He's the guy who owned it. A lot of what I read and through my own experience at that time, when it came to meditation, he was hitting it like right on the dot. And I'm like, okay, this guy's legit. But there were a martial arts school as well. And as a kid, I always wanted to do martial arts. We couldn't afford it. So I got into it because through my research, martial arts is a way of developing yourself, not just physically, mentally, spiritually, right? You're gonna grow. So in my situation where I was at that time of life, in my life, I couldn't act physically to get over my obstacles. I had to use my mind more. I had to be more calm, So I started getting into martial arts, and that really helped with physically because I can no longer lift weights as I used to when I was in the military. So I had to find a different exercise approach. And with that, over a period of time, I came to trust my instructor. He was also an acupuncturist. I was still having nagging pain from that injury. All my physical therapy approaches that I was using, they gave me back the strength in my joint. Like my joint was strong enough that I can rock climb according to the doctor, but it was just still painful. And I used different modalities to try to get rid of the pain. So here I am.
Now, is this Tai Chi at the studio, or is this what was?
So he taught Qigong.
Qigong. Okay.
Qigong is a lot of things encompass Qigong.
I took a Qigong class one time. It was awesome. Yeah.
I think what's the most important thing about Qigong is like its principles. What makes it Qigong? Like,
is it similar to Tai Chi?
Yes, there's Qigong aspects in Tai Chi.
Okay.
So what makes it Qigong, I believe, is if you have focus, if you're focusing on your breathing, if you're using mental, like a mental image, as well as there's health benefits as well. That's what makes it Qigong. So even swimming is considered a Qigong. You're focusing on your breathing, you're using mental energy, right? You're moving your joints around. Bicycling, I guess, can be also Qigong.
If you go to China or in Taiwan, you wake up early in the morning and you go to the parks, and exercise is part of the culture, and so there'll be thousands of people practicing Qigong, Tai Chi, doing martial art, but like the Qigong, there's thousands of different types of Qigong.
It's just a way to get the energy moving through your body, getting your breath.
Circulation.
It's a
circulation.
Standing meditation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Incorporating the mind, the body,
right.
moving everything.
Meditative movement, exactly.
Okay,
and
cool.
you will find those fundamentals in different exercises, again, like swimming, for example, right? So to fast forward, after this instructor, like he gained my trust over a period of time, I decided to say, all right, I'm gonna try acupuncture for my pain, for this nagging shoulder pain and for this nagging low back pain. None of the approaches I've been using has worked in terms of pain. Like I was strong, my joints were strong, that's great, but the pain wouldn't go away. And it was, I think, 3 sessions for 3 days, like the pain was gone and I was happy. There was also a situation where my mom's health, it wasn't the best because it was related to what was going on personally in our lives. They were connected. So I decided, okay, let me try this on her. Let's see if it works on her. So I took her to go see my mentor at that time, and he did acupuncture on her as well. And it was the same thing. Like, my mom's a strong woman. She was in bed, I think, for weeks. And growing up, my mom was the type of person that had 3 jobs. So for me to see her in bed, it was real. Like she was telling me, I can't get up. Like I'm in a lot of pain. When I took her to go see the acupuncturist, I think it was 3 sessions or 3 days, something with the number 3. She was on a bicycle, riding it and smiling and laughing. And at that very moment, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And so I ended up changing careers a little bit. From doing physical therapy full-time to, okay, I'm going to start learning acupuncture. Went into school, learned acupuncture, and here I am.
And I'm sure you see that same scenario with your people that come and see you guys.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we definitely have many patients who can barely walk when they walk in the clinic, you know, and they're in a lot of excruciating pain, and they feel like there's no way out. The only way that they're hearing is surgery, and they don't want to have surgery, you know. And just a few sessions, I had this one patient who, just like that, came in hobbling in. She's hearing surgery, you need surgery, and she doesn't want to have surgery. I'm like, okay, I'll see what I can do, you know, but let's look. And she returns a few months later. I'm so much better now. Thank you. No more. She's not hobbling around. You know, like, can we work on this now instead? That problem has been resolved. So yeah.
Wow.
Rewarding.
One of my favorite events, we had this gentleman come in. When he came in, he had a cane in one hand, his daughter with his arm wrapped around him. He's like 92, and he was doing the whole baby step shuffle, and he was in a lot of pain. And I think the first time he saw improvement was about 5 treatments in. He came in, his daughter was there, but she wasn't helping him. After 10 treatments, he comes in by himself. His daughter stayed home. He drove himself. I think it was like 15 visits. He left his cane at home. He came walking in by himself. And I think after 20 visits, he came in, and after acupuncture, he joined me for a round of Tai Chi.
Oh, cool.
And this, at 92 years old, that, to me, that's one of the best stories I've ever seen in my life when it comes to medicine.
Yeah, and that's what this whole thing is kind of all about, is like these type of stories, because we want people to know there's ways, like you were mentioning too,
Yeah.
like their last resort is like surgery, or I don't want to be on all these pills, and it's like we do kind of live in a world where it has been very far out of balance in that regard. So it's like I love that people are being pointed in the right direction and being able to look at things and start getting better and have these stories where they can put the cane down and go do Tai Chi. And
Well, and see, and that's what's pretty neat, like with us having the martial arts part of it as well.
so is there a gym and a wellness
There's
center?
a gym, and then we have our clinic.
Okay, all in the same.
All the same building. And so, for me, what's pretty amazing, because I've been practicing the martial arts my whole life, and I always knew that I was going to learn the acupuncture and the Chinese medicine, but not sure, when I was younger, not sure if I was going to do it as a career or anything like that. But just when I was in college, I decided, maybe I should look into it, and because I wanted to help people even more and stuff. But my whole life, I started teaching martial arts when I was 14, and so teaching Kung Fu classes. And when I was, you're teaching children, and you just see them progress and start learning, and people all together as even a community, developing their body, their mind, just through the martial arts, and they're keeping healthy in that sense. And then, as we're what we were saying, patients coming in and stuff. Like yesterday, we had a patient, treated her with her migraine headaches, and after she left, when she was leaving, she was saying, I haven't had a headache since I started with acupuncture, And so and I even have another guy, another patient of ours who, he's a full-time caretaker of his wife and stuff, and he came in for migraine headaches, and he's telling me, I haven't had a migraine headache since I've been here, and doing this. And so it's those type of things. And then we have students who do both, they'll get acupuncture and they'll do Tai Chi and stuff. And we have one student, she's actually one of our instructors, And if it wasn't for the classes, she said, this is what, so her story, her husband passed away, and then she just had that grief, it was hard to get out and stuff. And she decided the first thing to do, she came out of her house and she came to us and started learning Tai Chi. And she said because of that, just that movement, the community, it's like totally changed her life.
Yeah.
And now she's doing acupuncture, it's been helping her with all of that. She's cut down on diabetes medication, cut down on high blood pressure medications, all of that because of doing the exercise and the acupuncture and the Chinese herbs. And it's just changed her whole life around. So when you're seeing that type of thing, it's like, wow, you know. Or like I had a patient that she has, you know, terminal cancer, and she's been doing treatments with Huntsman Cancer Center, and we would use acupuncture, Chinese herbs, just to help support all of that, and just having them be like, wow, you know, this really helps me get through all this, you know, or if they're having cancer pain, to help them with that cancer pain, or if they're having the cancer, like being nauseous from chemotherapy, or all those side effects from all of that, the acupuncture can really help. The Chinese herbs can help as well, and just seeing their lives just change.
Yeah,
it's inspiring.
Yeah, one of the big questions, because I answer the phones. People are concerned about if there's been any studies showing the effects of acupuncture. And in 2017, there was over 1,000 studies being done on acupuncture alone. Chinese medicine is the most researched alternative medicine out there today. It's the most researched. Up at the university, there's a
licensed acupuncturist up at the University of Utah. She's also a nurse professor, and that's what she does, is acupuncture research.
Yeah.
And so that's her thing. And so there's a lot of different research studies going on. And it's not just even acupuncture, Tai Chi.
Oh, yeah.
Tai Chi has a lot of research. You know, it's been shown that Tai Chi helps prevent falls among senior citizens by over 50%. It will help with the cognitive, the mind, the coordination. They've shown that Tai Chi helps those with like chronic heart failure. And so just practicing the Tai Chi, Parkinson's, we have people with MS, just that type of exercise will help. But there's been a lot of studies that have shown that will help with, you know, the Tai Chi helps with building the immune system. There was a study that showed that senior citizens, especially, a lot of the studies are done with seniors, but it could be anybody, that Tai Chi helped with building their immune system to prevent from having shingles and stuff. Yeah. And so there's been studies done on that, as well as acupuncture. In China, not only acupuncture itself studies, but a lot of herbal studies. And studies done in Chinese, you have to read the Chinese literature, but a lot of Chinese herbs that have shown to help with a multitude of things like kidney failure, cancer, all of that, you know. And so using all of that it's important. And look at all the natural, like we were talking about with like the food and everything.
Natural approaches. Yeah.
Harvard Medical School actually published a book on Tai Chi. It's called Harvard Medical School Guide to Tai Chi. And they go into a lot of the studies that they've done.
They actually quote, you know, a lot of people say, oh, Tai Chi is motion, like meditation in motion. But Harvard Medical School has actually changed it a little bit, medication in motion.
Oh.
And so it's kind of interesting.
That's cool. Well, I was just thinking, it kind of blows my mind that, like, for a while this is a last resort instead of a first resort.
Yeah.
Where it's not like these natural. It's just body movement. It's natural. The herbs, it's earthy, it's human. It's like, why is that a last resort? It's funny that it's not a first resort. And then maybe balancing it out with maybe other modalities as with what's needed for each individual. But it seems to me like modalities such as what you guys practice and what you guys are offering to the community and healing people with would make a lot more sense to be a first resort.
Yeah, and that brings up another thing, because acupuncture itself has been researched so much that now the physicians, I'd have to double check, but I think it's the American College of Physicians that they published it, and they've actually came out with guidelines for physicians that using acupuncture as one of the first line treatments for like especially chronic pain and low back pain and stuff. So instead of just saying, oh, there's some meds, and they're saying, look at these other things, and acupuncture has been listed as one of the first line of treatments.
That's so
which
good,
is very
because
interesting.
a lot of times it's like you go to the doctor and it's like they're not asking you how you're sleeping, how your nutrition is, what you're eating, all these things. It's like, oh, here's the thing, let's tackle it with this. And they just kind of, for a long time, just jumped on at that. And I think we've been conditioned to go with that narrative for a while. And I feel like this is being focused on now. And I love that you guys, that's what you guys offer, and that you're helping people do that.
Yeah, we've had patients, we've seen them like few years ago. There's been one guy, we helped him with sciatica nerve problems, and he started developing serious migraines. And he went to the doctor. He went through everything first, and then he came back and he says, I don't know why I did this. You guys helped me with my sciatic nerve quicker than doctors would have ever been able to do, but yet when it came to my migraine, you guys were the last ones that I decided to go to, and now the migraine is gone. And so I think it's human nature to go with what's the easiest. Going to a doctor and getting a pill is the easiest thing to do.
That's true. Yeah.
Coming to get acupuncture, it's not the easiest thing, because you got to admit to yourself that, your body's out of whack.
And there you have to work with the practice, and you actually have to take action.
Yeah, and we give them, we'll give people with low back pain or sciatic nerve stretches to do, and we tell them every day, you have to do this. That's the best way for you to heal, is by doing these, getting acupuncture.
And that's also, part of the best thing to do is prevention. And so after if you're healed or you're feeling better, then you got to do things to prevent from any other illness. And that's where nutrition, exercise, lifestyle all comes into play. And so that's why we teach the martial arts, the Tai Chi, the Kung Fu.
It all comes together.
It all comes together.
Not just acupuncture, but then the Tai Chi can complement that.
The Tai Chi will complement that. The Kung Fu for kids. I'll treat kids that have ADHD, have like a lot of anxiety and stuff like that. And if they came and they practice martial arts, they practice Kung Fu, then that will help them to focus, to build confidence, to transform their lives. Start as a kid, and if they start as a kid with those habits of that exercise, learning the movements, even if they don't stay with the martial arts all their whole life, they learn those principles to be disciplined.
They can apply it.
To apply it, it's transferable. And so they learn those principles, and not even, to be healthy, but healthy as emotionally and physically and everything, to be a good person. In our martial arts classes, we teach the kids to be diligent, to be loyal, to build their confidence, to be honest and stuff. And those principles you take throughout your life, just to be, because if you're a good person, then, and you're living those principles, you'll be happier emotionally, you'll be more apt to exercise, you'll be more apt to eat better, to take care of yourself, and to serve and to help others, you know, and it's just those,
It's the
lifestyle,
feeds,
you know, it all feeds into each other. There was an ancient Chinese doctor, Sun Tzu Miao. He would say, you know, most diseases can be cured and helped through lifestyle changes. You know, diet, exercise, way of living. Then you use those ones, and then afterwards, if you still have problem, then you look at acupuncture, herbs, and other medical medicinals and stuff. So it's interesting, you know, we have to change the lifestyle, and it takes discipline. It takes a mindset shift. You know, I'll get people like they want to lose weight, or they want to lower the high blood pressure. And you have to tell them, you know, you can't just do the acupuncture and the Chinese herbs and expect that you're going to have to do your part to change your lifestyle. You can't, you know, do the acupuncture, the Chinese herbs for high blood pressure, and then go next door and eat French fries all day long.
It's not a quick fix. It's a process.
It's a process, and I think that mindset is what is within the, you know, the Western mindset too, because we've been conditioned to take medications. And so, you know, you take a high blood pressure medication, you take a diabetes medication, you take that, but then the diet and the exercise hasn't really changed. They'll take blood pressure medications, still go eat whatever, or not pay attention to what their diet's like, or not exercise, you know, and even if it's a little bit of exercise, because some people, it's difficult. You have to just start small, but you start small, you get better.
Taking steps in the right direction.
So, it's interesting.
Yeah, one of the most asked questions I get on the phone is, how many visits?
Like, how long will it take?
Yeah, how many visits will it take for us to see? And I tell them, we honestly don't know. And I tell them that everybody's body is different. A few things we look at is how long they've had it, the severity of it, and how their body adjusts to acupuncture. And I'm always shocked when people say, so one visit won't take care of this? I'm like, generally no. You're going to need multiple treatments, and they're like, really?
Yeah, it's like you don't meditate once and now you're focused completely, or you're still, or you don't just. I mean, even in regards to like what you were saying with taking the pills instead of working with this practice or something like that. It's like it's not just, and nothing's just a quick fix.
Yeah.
But I feel like we've been conditioned, or we're used to just, instead of working with a meditation practice, it's easier to just distract ourselves, whether it's like technology or food or whatever it is, or instead of exercising, it's like we have all these distractions that kind of take us away from what we need, the right direction that is actually in our benefit of healing, and that's going to get us to a better place mentally, physically, all of those things. Can you guys point us to some, besides a Master Lu's Health Center, as far as resources for some of this stuff? Do you have any tips for us here, or where would you, just for like all of these things that we've been talking about, is there any like educational resources, or would you just recommend that we?
To learn more about acupuncture and everything, you can go. There's a couple of things you can do. There's like different websites. The nccaom.org. They have they're our kind of like our governing body across the U.S. When we take board exams, that's how we go through the NCCAOM. So they're the ones that kind of regulate the national board exams, and they actually have pretty good resources for just pay for patients and stuff on like acupuncture, Chinese medicine, stuff like that. And then you can also, if you want evidence-based type things, there's a website called the evidence-based acupuncture, and they have a lot of research studies on there
Okay.
as well. And acupuncturenow.org also has a lot of different research.
I'll put those links
Yeah.
for people to
put in there. Tai Chi, if you go on to, you can look on the NIH, and the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, they have a whole section of complementary and alternative health, and they have stuff on Tai Chi and how like even Tai Chi help with fibromyalgia and arthritis, things like that. And so they have resources about that and like what Tai Chi is. Harvard Medical School as well.
Cool.
has stuff.
Good book that he actually, when I started working there, he told me to get it. It's a layman's book for Chinese medicine. It's called A Web That Has No Weaver.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a great source for people that want to be able to get a little more knowledge on acupuncture. That's a great source right there.
Great, I'll check that out. That's awesome. One other thing I wanted to touch on too is you mentioned your dad had passed away a few years ago.
Yeah.
And you're carrying on his legacy still with what you do, and I mean his story seemed very inspiring, and there's a lot to unpack there. But how else are you carrying his legacy or carrying him with you today? Like how is that for you? As you know, his whole story kind of goes into yours, and there's just a lot of beauty in that, and I was just wanting to unpack a little bit of that with you.
Hey, I mean, of course it was difficult when he passed away and everything like that. For me, I just keep on treating patients. I keep on, I'm teaching Tai Chi, teaching Kung Fu, and then we have students. And they are just like, I'm glad that you kept going, where your father left. And that a lot of people are saying, I'm just happy that you're still, still here helping people. And instead of us, we could have, just easily closed down, and I could have done something else or whatever.
But this is your pursuit. This is where you're.
Yeah, and this is where the martial arts and just the helping the people and what he just kind of helped people come together a lot of times, and so doing that I think has helped people just to be just healthier and happier in that sense, because when my father passed away, we have old students that practiced with him back in the 80s coming back to continue their practice, because they're like, well, I've wanted to come back for so many years, and then he passed away, and they're like, I just got to do this now, because it was just something that they really enjoy, and just like a love. And
it was reignited.
Yeah, reignited.
Yeah.
And for me, martial arts, especially for me, it was just always just been part of me. So it's always there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, yeah. Thank you for telling your stories with us. That was really inspiring stuff and really beneficial for us to be educated on. It's really nice to hear and get your guys' background with everything that you have.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you guys wanted to touch on?
Just so I'm Master Lou, when I met his father, I got to have the honor of meeting him before he passed away. He definitely had a way of just passing me with some sort of type of knowledge. When I met this man, he was, you don't see this in this culture a lot, but he was on using oxygen just to walk around, but still practicing acupuncture, still going out and teaching Tai Chi classes. Didn't say much. I just saw through example the way he was. So legacy-wise, this man was a very hard worker, and he was very, very into Tai Chi and Kung Fu and acupuncture.
Yeah, he lived that.
Yeah, he lived it. Like, you saw it through his own example, leading classes with oxygen on. doing physical therapy, I'll see people half his age on oxygen can barely walk. They're struggling to walk. So what an example.
Yeah, that's what we need. That's what we need.
And one of the things, so my father, throughout his life, he had 4 open heart surgeries.
4.
And it wasn't because he was like unhealthy or anything. He had a congenital heart defect, and they didn't find out until after my parents were married.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was in '76 and at that time he had his first open heart surgery, and then when they had to replace the valve and everything that was wrong there, and it lasted 13 years, and then they had to replace it again in 1989, and they replaced it with like mechanical ones, and after that it lasted for quite a while up until around 2010 or so.
Yeah, that's right after I started.
2010, and then you had to do a third one because that one failed, and then shortly after the third one, they had to go in again for the fourth one, and so it's like later in his life, and there's not many people that go through 4 open heart surgeries.
Right.
Yeah.
And so just over time, the physicians would say if it wasn't for his exercise, his kung fu and his tai chi, he would not have lasted this long like this. And he was able to last longer and stuff just because of that.
Wow.
But still over time though, your heart, because of so much like trauma with his heart, that it just fails. But the way that he exercised and everything, how strong he was, and that he was able to keep going.
That dedication to the practice served his body and kept him. Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you guys so much. Would you mind pointing us in the right direction where we can find you online? I mean, Master Lou's Health Center, the website, social media, any of those things?
So the website is louhealthcenter.com.
louhealthcenter.com.
And we're down in Salt Lake. It's 3220 South State Street.
Okay.
And it says Master Lou's Health Center. You can find us on Facebook under Master Lou's Health Center. We have a Facebook page. And then on Instagram is also masterlou.healthcenter.
Yeah.
And
then we also have a YouTube channel. We're part of 2 channels. One is our own Master Lou's Health Center, and then Thai recorded with another company, all our complete Tai Chi form, and that's Alpine Harbor.
Okay.
And you can go there, subscribe, and you can, from the comfort of your own home, you can actually learn the entire Tai Chi form.
Oh,
have everyone subscribe.
32,
yeah, absolutely.
32 videos, 33.
There's 33
So it's a Tai Chi
videos.
course.
Yeah.
It's a Tai Chi
And it's
course.
free.
Just subscribe,
I'm gonna check
and we
that
set
out.
it out.
Very cool.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so it's with Alpine Harbor, and then have people subscribe, and more subscriptions will be great.
Absolutely.
Try to build that up a little bit.
Well, you guys are doing this really cool stuff. Thank you so much for educating us
you.
and talking to us today about everything.
We appreciate the invite.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's been great.